we're a while away from Victoria's election. It's not going to be till the 28th of November, but this election is shaping up to be a mess. This chaos is off the back of Labor once again infighting, Allen being ousted and a new premier coming in, One Nation putting forward the worst blunt rotation of candidates you could possibly imagine, and Liberals do what they do best, lie about Labor's accomplishments as they try and worm their way back into government to make the state worse for everybody. Now, Labor has not been perfect by any definition of the word, but what I want to highlight to you in this video is just how horrific these opposing candidates are. And I encourage you to wait till the end, because you might think I'm being biased. You might think that I'm taking this dogmatic approach where it's a team sport. But once you get to know these candidates, you will understand that if you care about Victoria, there really is no option other than the Labor government. As always, if you're new here, welcome. And if you've seen my other stuff, well, welcome back. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments. The hype points really do help. I appreciate all the new people finding the channel. And if you're interested, I just did a video on some New South Wales policy last video. It didn't do the best in the algorithm. If you like this video, please go check that one out. With all that said, let's get into the video. Warren Pickering is the One Nation Victorian leader, and he's gonna go for a lower house seat that actually is possible to win. There is a real chance that this man is a representative of Victoria in the lower house. And he is like if you took a Greens voter who was chronically on Reddit and took every stereotype they believe about One Nation, pumped it in a tube, and turned it into a human being. This guy sprung out of the freedom movement during the COVID-19 pandemic, anti-vax movement. He really is that embodiment of anti-vax, anti-globalist, and anti-woke. We're getting the 15-minute walkable city fears, the elite globalist cabal around the WEF, that digital ID is this grand conspiracy to constantly track everything you do. You'll own nothing and be happy. He's that guy. He's him. And I don't want to do a guilty by association attack here, but he also invited an ex-actor from Neighbours to speak at a rally, and that gentleman went on to perpetuate some conspiracy about the Jews. Now, maybe I missed the episode of Neighbours where they burned the Star of David in someone's backyard, but that just feels a little bit out of character, and I don't particularly like that a politician would be connected to someone like that. He's also pulling a Trump and is attacking the media aggressively. He's already threatened to sue organizations that he perceives as defaming the One Nation candidates, and One Nation, of course, is taking its stance where it's gonna ban the ABC and the Guardian for coming to any of its events and reporting on what they're saying. Now, I find it quite ironic that the party of freedom of speech and freedom of expression is so sad that news organizations are using that freedom to rightfully critique them, but this is a party of hypocrisy, and as I've said in many other videos, in my opinion, it's best understood as a scam. Now, given he has come out so aggressively and said that he's going to sue people, I want to make it abundantly clear I don't think they're literally scammers. I'm using it more in a figurative sense where they say one thing and do another. I think some of the greatest irony with his candidacy, though, is the fact that, like Barnaby Joyce and Hanson can never understand what they're meant to be messaging, he too disagrees with Hanson's own statements. He has talked about the fact that it is just not rational or reasonable for mass deportations to occur. He talked about older politicians like Hanson being these dinosaurs who need to get out of politics. It seems like this is someone who, in my opinion, is gonna say one thing and do another to gain power. That there is not strong principles or convictions there. He says what needs to be said to win. And some people find that endearing. I find that morally bankrupt, in my opinion. And you can fault the Labor government all you want. Andrews was not perfect in the way he handled the COVID-19 pandemic. Allen has not done a good job when it came to some of the corruption in the construction sector or the way they are dealing with crime. And we're gonna see how the new premier does. But at least when Andrews or Allen or Carroll spoke, you know what they're saying in the moment is at least plausibly what they believe. But when it comes to One Nation, where it's just statement after statement, policy after policy being thrown at the wall to see what sticks, or you have people who seem to be actively going against their convictions to gain power, how can you trust anything they're going to say there? You can criticize Labor all you want, but this is a solution. Someone who, in my opinion, peddles conspiracy theories while saying whatever they need to get people to trust them. How is that a better option? And then there's the Victorian Liberals headed up by Jess Wilson, who are just One Nation light. I mean, in an interview when pressed whether she would form government with One Nation, despite Pickering believing in these globalist conspiracies, she would not deny it.
He believes in foreign globalists. Could you see yourself sitting around the cabinet table with a guy who thinks that?
Well, I'm running for majority government for that very reason, because I have a plan and I have the solutions to fix this state.
You say for that very reason. It must alarm you.
I'm running for majority government.
Come on, does that alarm you? Globalists.
I'm running for majority government.
She's also at the mercy of this right-wing populist thought that is infecting the country. She knows that the vast majority of One Nation voters will trickle down to her party instead of Labor or the Greens or anyone else, so she's doing everything she possibly can to not upset them. And that might not be directly playing into these conspiracies, but it is sure as hell making sure they know they're welcome within the Liberal Party. The Liberals have always used One Nation to drum up right-wing support with plausible deniability, and the exact same thing is happening now. But as we've seen at a federal level, what can eventually happen is those right-wing voters decide they no longer need the center-right. They want to attack Labor over the economy while conveniently ignoring the fact that the pandemic happened, and there are no particularly strong policies the Wilson government has to resolve that. You want to talk about keeping Victorians safe, but what that really means is just going into these culture war talking points, talking about the need for law and order, whilst not dealing with the actual material issues that result in people committing crimes. They want to talk about fixing the healthcare system, but the Liberal government under Wilson are not going to be the ones who increase pay for doctors and nurses. They're not going to be the ones who work with the unions to get a better outcome that allow people to feel less exhausted when they're on shift, encourage more people to upskill and go into nursing. None of this is Liberal policy. That's Labor policy. All the Liberals do is attack and attack and attack. But the second they need to provide a solution, they fall flat on their face. And we can see this cycle happening time and time and time again. They are not a party of solutions. The Liberals are a party who will throw policy together, hoping that no one will notice in the long term it's going to leave you worse off. So often you don't feel the negative consequences of Liberal policy immediately, you feel it in a couple years' time, and at that point they're typically out of government, so you blame it on the people currently in charge, despite the fact the Liberals were the ones who made it worse for you. Grievance politics, no solutions, blame Labor, blame Labor, blame Labor. They are not a more reasonable conservative government. They're just One Nation light. And then there's Labor being headed by Ben Carroll. Now again, he ain't perfect. I personally thought he was a political monster in the way he was talking about, I'm proud to have a daughter who can see I supported Jacinta Allen, only to take her job. I understand that's kind of the name of the game, that you support your leader until it is no longer tenable, but man, that's got to be top 3 worst political quotes this year in the way he pulled out the, I'm proud to be a feminist so my daughter can see the type of man I am, only to backstab your female leader. I think that was a little bit wild, but when we actually look from a policy perspective, at least Labor has real tangible things they're moving towards. Hiring more doctors and nurses, trying to build new hospitals, making work from home a right people have so they're not forced to commute or burn themselves out. Free public transport, lowering public transport, doing a royal commission into corruption in the construction industry. This party is not perfect, but when you look at the things they're moving towards, it's not taglines or culture war politics. It's real material things that you will feel in your day-to-day life. And I know people are going to be unhappy I'm not including the Greens in this, but there is no universe where they're going to have power or even hold the balance of power. You have two options in front of you when it comes to having the premier of your state, and that is Labor or the Liberals. Those are your two options, and the Liberals are just One Nation light, and there is a chance that they would have to form government with One Nation. And I don't know about you, Warren Pickering does not sound like a reasonable man in my opinion. We can talk about the best case and the worst case, what we wish things would be, but we're dealing with the real world. And in the real world, there are two options for the Premier of Victoria. Ben Carroll, a flawed man from an imperfect party that is working to materially make your life better, or the Liberals, who are just One Nation light in the best case scenario, or in the worst case scenario, it is actually the Liberals and One Nation together. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a difficult decision. A lot can change in a couple months' time. Ben Carroll might be able to bring this around. But if you're from Victoria, I encourage you, get out there, canvass for the Labor Party, help them convince people that they are not a lost cause, that they are going to materially make people's lives better. Reach out to your local member, see if there's anything you can do. They really do need boots on the ground. It is useful. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments. I do try and respond to as many of your comments as I possibly can. I really do appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the hype points, all of you people trying to help other people find the channel. And as I said at the beginning, if you like this video, the last video I did got a little bit crushed in the algorithm. I'd appreciate if you check it out. But hey, thanks for watching. It's been real. I'll see you in a fortnight.